today we got to play Cape May. So this game is, I loved your phrasing actually for it. It was Monopoly if it was actually made to be a decent game.
Well, it was made to be for gamers, like modern gamers.
So anyway, so before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing and that's what we do here. All right, Randy, tell us more about Cape May.
So this was a 2021 release technically, but it really hit the game stores in 2022. This is at least our game store, yes.
Okay, cool.
But it's 2021 release per Board Game Geek.
Okay.
Rating is 7.4. The rank is 6138.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 to 4 player game. Average length of 60 to 120 minutes. Age 13 and up. It is designed by Eric Masso, art by Michael Menzel, published by Thunderworks Games, not a company I'm real familiar with. I've heard of them before. MSRP of $59.95, but Card House has it listed for $41.49. I've seen it elsewhere for $42, $43. So the average price you're going to get it for is around $42.
Okay, cool. With the new release, that's not too bad. All right, so now let's talk about quality of pieces. So you do have a little bit of cardboard chits. You got some cardboard money. You do have the initial tiles are cardboard. But I will say these upgraded plastic houses and businesses are actually pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
So for that point, I really liked what they did.
I really like the lighthouse. It's a heavier weight. It's a heavier weight than the other pieces. It feels at least that way. But it's very detailed. The houses and everything are pretty nice as well.
Yeah, they've got a lot of detail to them. You can see the little windows and stuff. And then eventually you can make these houses landmarks by putting them in, which I think is a pretty cool component. I guess the white picket fence, maybe that's what this is.
I know it's like a gated community fence. I don't know exactly why that makes it a landmark, but...
Well, you know,
I guess if you go in like museums and such, a lot of times they have fencing around them, especially the older buildings.
Yeah. All right. So, and then the cards themselves, there's not, well, yes, I guess there's quite a few.
Linen finish.
It is linen finish. It's good thickness. I actually think this is actually pretty good.
I like the quality that they put into this. And, the cardboard it's a standard cardboard, I guess. It's not anything special, but when we get to theme, we'll talk about the art on it, but they do look pretty nice. All in all, I think they've done a really nice job for a company I'm not familiar with anyway. I don't know how many games they've released.
Now, did the drawstring bag come with it? So that looks pretty nice as well. Overall, I think they actually did a really good on quality pieces. I'm thinking a 7.5 to 8. What are your thoughts?
The board does not have a linen finish, but it's nice and nice size for the table.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I'm probably going to give this an 8. I think.
Okay, cool. So we're right there where we're thinking. All right, cool. Now let's talk about theme-wise. So you travel around the board and you're building houses or businesses based on the lot requirements. I mean, sure, there was some zoning laws prior to you getting here.
It's Cape May, so it's an East Coast lighthouse community, which is, it's, I don't know what year this is set for, but it's supposed to be Cape May, New Jersey. It's a popular getaway for people from New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. since the 1700s. So I don't know what year this is technically set in, but it's based upon the community around there. And it does look like an East Coast environment. I mean, that's what I'm sure the names of the streets are probably accurate to names that are probably in Cape May, but I wouldn't know for sure because I've never been there. But it is a very attractive board. It's very pretty.
Okay, cool. So overall theme, they did really well on the art here. I like the iconography used. So overall, I think theme-wise, I don't think it's anything spectacular, but I think it's okay. So I'm willing to give this a 7 on theme. What are your thoughts?
I thought they did a really nice job on it. They got all the tokens are color-coded for the different players, and they're very pretty tokens. In the money, even though I don't like cardboard money, they did a really nice job making it look like money. I mean, it is very pretty. Why you would have that kind of token in the United States when it's definitely not anything that looks like U.S. currency. I guess it's probably illegal for them to make tokens that look exactly like U.S.
too similar,
currency. But I mean, it is very pretty. Everything about it I like as far as the attractiveness. That's why when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a pretty game. I love the cards, the event cards that look like newspapers. I mean, I'm probably about an 8.5 on this one as far as theme. I just love the look of this, and it's mostly from the art.
Wow, you really did like this. All right, so now let's talk about Rulebook. How did that one fare? I know.
Yeah, the Rulebook is, well, it says, let's see, it would be 18 pages internal. There's a cover and a back on it, so I'm guessing that would be 20 pages.
Okay.
The nice thing about this is the font they used. It's so rare to see.
Anyone can read it.
It is big. There's, very rare that you see font where you can actually read it from a distance.
I don't think it's big. I think it's nice.
Yeah, but compared to what you normally see in rulebooks, this is huge.
Well, I know, but at least you can read it and not have to be like, what does that say? I mean, I feel old sometimes reading some
This game
rule
is
books.
pretty simple, but because the rules are so big, large in font, it took 20 pages to get it in. But of course, part of it's solo play, the last 4 pages, so it's really only 16 pages.
Okay.
And then 14 if you take away the cover and back.
Okay.
So all in all, it's a very easy to read. The game is pretty simple, so that helps. They've sectioned it kind of, there's not a lot of sectioning to it, but they do have clear what the actions are. They repeatedly said action, action, action. I'm not sure they needed to do that, but it makes it clear that those are the different things you can do. There was no confusion during the game about what anything was. I was able to teach it rather quickly when we started to play.
Yep.
So all in all, it's a very effective rule book.
Well, I mean, not only that though, but their cheat sheet was actually pretty
on the
spot
pointer
on.
boards.
I didn't think you needed more than. I mean, this was nice. This worked out very, very wonderful. I didn't even realize there was a back to this, but that would have been nice. Oh, this is for solo play.
Yeah, it's solo.
Yeah, but still. So, I mean, I know I thought the cheat sheet was perfect. It gives you the list of things you could do. Final scoring, super nice. Like that. What'd you give it a score?
I'll give it a 9. I mean, I think it's a pretty well done rule book.
I'm fine with that because, like I said, the cheat sheet was wonderful for me. All right, so now let's talk about actual gameplay. So in gameplay, there are a couple of actions going on. So first we have the play a movement card that allows you to move across the board. So instead of, so if you notice, everyone has these hands of card here. So you can choose to play one. So for an example, I'm going to play the 6 because I need to get across the board. Now, the thing with that is there's a cost down here. Sometimes, not all the time, and you have to pay that cost. So I'm going to have to pay 1 gold to make that kind of movement. Basically, I hired me a coach, okay?
The movement ranges from 1 to 7, and your 2 extremes, the 1 and 2 and the 6 and 7, will cost 2 money or 1 money, depending on which one you pick. If the most extreme is 2, the less extreme is 1. So your mid-range is free. You don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. All right, so you play the 6, and then you move your character 6 space, and that is considered one action. Now, I will notice... I want to state that some of these are one-way streets. I did not realize this until I couldn't go down a way I wanted to go down. You were
just like she drives.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. So anyway, so just keep in mind that there are one-way streets that you have to follow, and those are identified by the arrow markers. All right, so I moved my 6 spaces. I don't know if that was 6. I just randomly moved the thing. All right, so I moved 6 spaces. So once I play a card, I don't get it back. I keep playing cards until I use an action to do that. So that's retrieve movement card. So that's another action that you could take. So after you've played a couple, and you're like, hey, I really can't use a 3 or a 5. I really need to pick up my hand. I can use one of my actions to do that because I get 3 actions in the round. So another action is build an adjacent cottage or shop. Okay. So your cottages or shops are the actual tiles here are available. They're your basic, very basic tile that you're going to play, and you're going to upgrade those as options here in a minute. But so let's talk about that. So what's the cost? Well, depending on the location of the city, it costs less or more to build the shop or business. So for example, if you look at the gravel, so you have beach, dirt, grass, and gravel are the different zoning types. Now, I like kind of fact that they broke it up kind of in that terrain type, because the beach is obviously more expensive to build on because it's going to obviously more people want to be next to the beach. And then it gets less expensive as you go towards the gravel area. And that chart is actually on your cheat sheet, so it's wonderfully nice to know how much you've got to pay. And so the next action is you can upgrade an adjacent cottage. Again, that's found on this cheat sheet, so I already have a cottage. To upgrade it, it's going to have that amount on there. And then that tells me. Yeah. Now, I do want to point out that when you build your shop or you upgrade, there is a income increase. So this does have an income component, and that is done with how many buildings you have on the board and at what stage of development they are, and that gives you a certain amount of income.
But only once per season.
Yeah, one per season. So 3 different actions before you get it. There's only 3 income phases. You do not get one on that last season. Money is not victory points in this game. That's just used.
Well, it is 1 for every 10 victory. Okay. 10 money.
Sort of, barely any. Okay, so use it or lose it kind of thing. And then, all right. So the next one is to upgrade. Like we talked about again, you're using the same chart, and then draw 2 activity cards and keep 1. So those activity cards, I didn't do that once throughout the whole game.
No, I think your dad did one time, but yeah, it was. It seemed like it was much more beneficial to build as many times as you could. So getting into spaces and building. So this is where it feels like Monopoly. You're moving your piece, albeit you're not using a die roll to do it. You're using cards to play it, to get to locations to build cottages and shops, which replace, in essence, the houses. And then when you upgrade them, it's like making hotels in Monopoly. It definitely has a feel of the old school Monopoly but it feels more like a modern version of it that would be set like a Euro.
All right, so activity cards. So that's the special stuff, right? Like it's this card, right? Is this the activity card?
Yes, those are the activity cards.
I didn't even know what they were called. So you get 2 free at each income phase, and so they allowed you to do some, let you bend rules sometimes or do things at a discount cost. So it's not necessarily, definitely want to use the free ones you get. I just don't know if I would spend a turn to get one. But then again, at the end where I didn't have any money and I was searching for things to do, then I could see that being helpful because you're setting yourself up for the next round. So anyway, and most of these cards have 2 options. So there's like, you can use one for, like this one allows you to move, but then this one up here lets you to build anywhere, not just something adjacent, which works out for end of game victory points. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. And then the last option is you're broke, you got nothing to do, you can take 3 money, which I used 3 times in the game because I be broke a lot. Yes, it's important to build shops at the beginning of the game. They're not worth any victory points, but they do give you some income, okay?
Well, yes and no. They do count as buildings towards having the majority in an area, which is part of scoring.
Right, but
yeah, directly they do not give you victory points.
So, first round, first 2, bid you some shops, 3 4-star bid you some houses. Okay, all right. Then now let's talk about end of game victory points. So at the beginning of the game, you get 4 of these cards. You pick 2, and these are going to be your end game bonuses, if you will, to gain victory points beyond just building the different towns.
I obsess over those things whenever they're in a game, and to my detriment usually in the game. I spend more time focusing on scoring those things when I'm giving up points that I could have gotten elsewhere.
Well, like I noticed, it's like, okay, if I have a cottage in each of the 3 terrain types I was supposed to build in, I got 2 victory points. And so I came up to a point where I was like, oh, I can build a cottage here, or I can upgrade it. Well, if I lift a cottage, I can get 2 victory points. But I'm like, but if I upgraded it, I could get 3 victory points. So why would I just leave it as a cottage? And I still had to go and put 2 other cottages somewhere that, again, I could just upgrade and get. So I was just like, well, that was stupid. I got my 7 points. I'm calling it a day. So I was just like, yeah, nope. So I would really ask yourselves if these were knowing it, and when I picked it out, I maybe would have picked 2 different ones. But just kind of being aware of sometimes maybe it's not necessarily worth it. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, so final scoring with end-of-game victory points. We talked about the houses. Each are worth certain victory points. So the actual, if you built one of these,
Victorian houses.
Victorian houses, you get a certain level of victory points. If you make them landmarks, which are the white piece of it, they're even worth even more victory points.
And they're based upon how close they are to
the ocean, right? Because obviously property value.
Yeah.
You want to be next to the beach. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. So then the majority buildings per zone. So each zone, like I said, the zones are the different material that you're building on top of. The gravel, the dirt, the grass.
But interestingly, those are in reverse, so that you get more points for having majority in the gravel away from the beach and less when you get to the beach. And I like that because it was a balancing for the game.
Yeah, I was saying I liked that a lot better because, you know, if you just focused on the beach, then you would get more. Yeah, I liked the fact that
and it played into my bonus as well because the cards I had were all about building in the grass and the gravel. So I was like focused on that area, and it was going to pay off in the majorities.
Yeah, so it kind of worked out for you. All right, so then the next one is the upgrade cards. Oh, those are the ones we talked about, the end of game scoring. Bird set. So that's one thing we kind of haven't discussed. So as you move across the city and your thing, there are spaces with little birds on them. If you land on a bird space, you, out of the drawback, you will grab a bird. Now this is the set collection part of the game. So every time you got a different bird, you get additional victory points. The scale is up here. You got a bird.
I got a bird.
Dad got 2 birds, and I got 0 birds.
Well, I don't think the birds were. I mean, if you're the thing is a trade off. If you go for the birds, most of the birds are on locations where you can't build. So it's almost like it's not real beneficial for you to go and land on those spaces because once you do, you have to move again to get
right, and that takes an action, and so it's.
So I mean, I kind of like it being there because it's more variety for scoring. I just can't see it being a strategy for winning, but maybe somebody could pull it off. Now, when you mentioned the breezed across upgrade cards, that's different than the bonus cards. The upgrade cards are the cards you get when you upgrade your shops. So when you upgrade
the thing
landmarks,
I didn't get until the very end because I wasn't paying attention.
When you upgrade your landmarks, you get victory points for those. But for the shops, you get these upgrade cards. And when you get one, it may be something you can use as an action during the game. It could be some kind of an in-game score perk. They're not worth a lot because you got one that's worth 1 victory point.
Yeah.
Your dad got one worth 2.
Yay.
So they were not great, but, it was a little bit of bonus scoring.
So at least something, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, and then, that's the bonus. Bird sets, bonus cards, and then you get 1 victory point every 10 money remaining, which, again, there's so many better uses for money. Spend it, right? So overall, thoughts and feelings of this game?
Like I said, it feels like you're playing a Euro version of Monopoly. If you like Monopoly or you wish there was a more modern version of Monopoly, this will give you that feel. There's no charging of rent or anything like that when somebody moves there, but you are taking up spaces that other people could build. That's really where the charge comes, if you will. There's no real player interaction in this game. You're just, other than blockading spaces when you move. We didn't mention there are events that trigger once per round. They are newspaper articles, and I thought that was really a cool way of doing it. But it's basically just it's not a roll and move because you don't have dice, you have cards, so you control when you want to play your numbers. And so it felt like they took the concept of Monopoly and said, what would it take to make this a modern Euro game? And it's like, we'll take the luck out of the die roll so you can control your movement. We'll take away the impact of the rent and we'll make it, more player friendly. Oh, and we didn't talk about when we talked about the theme or whatever, that each player character, and this is one of my favorite things when we got it out, all the little pieces are wooden carved to be custom for each player.
I liked my little lady. She had an umbrella.
Parasol,
Parasol.
Yours were really cool.
I know, because I'm awesome.
I had a little dude with a cane. So, I mean, they really put nice touches on this game. As far as the gameplay itself, though, it was okay. It wasn't great. I mean, it's if you're wanting a lighter game.
It was okay. I mean, it's not even that it's that light. It's not a real estate game, but it is.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of in a weird
Yeah.
It's kind of in a weird space.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad weird space. It's just a weird
Well, I mean, if you've got friends who only know Monopoly and you're wanting to introduce them into...
This might not be a bad
This would be a good game for that kind of transition. You know, it's not that hard to learn.
No.
And it's, you know, it's a niche game if you enjoy those kind of games. And, you know, Monopoly's not a bad game. I mean, obviously it wouldn't sell millions of copies if it was a horrible game.
It just never ends.
It's just long. It never ends. You don't have a problem with this game. So this is a good transition game for those diehard Monopoly fans. You know, it's if you're trying to get some people to play more modern Euro type games, this would be a good step towards that. I don't find it to be particularly exciting, but it was very pretty. It definitely makes a nice table presence. You know, as far as the gameplay, I'm going to go ahead and probably give it a 6.5. I don't think it's overly exciting, but, you know, it's something, if I get some light gamers or people who are new to the gaming world and they're, you know, they say, all I know is Monopoly or, you know, those kind of games, I might get this out to teach them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It is a very pretty game, but it's not very exciting. And I think you're spot on with that assessment. I don't know what you could do. Like, I'm thinking about it. Yeah. It's like, critique wise, I mean, it's a fine, cute game, and we've experienced those, right? Yeah. So it's a fine, cute game. Okay.
Yeah.
Score it though.
I just said 6.5.
Oh, you're making me score it now too, I guess. Yeah, let's do that. 6.5. That's fine. I'm good with that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight, and hopefully you'll come and hang out with us again. Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Today we got to I don't know.
We got to K, and tomorrow we're shooting for L. That's our goal.
Let's do this again.
Okay.
Hello, today I have no freaking idea what like I start with the words all like tying knots, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
This video brought to you by the letter K. And attempt number 3.
All right.